Get that black man out of here. He doesn't belong in a 7-star restaurant meant for the elite. The man who said those words thought he was protecting the reputation of the restaurant. What he didn't know was that the quiet man standing near the door had just bought the entire place. But let's rewind for a moment, because what happened that night inside Rêve, the most luxurious restaurant in the city, would change several lives forever. And it all started with a taxi. Not a limousine, not a luxury SUV, just a simple yellow taxi that slowly stopped in front of the glowing entrance. The restaurant looked breathtaking. Tall glass windows reflected the city lights. Crystal chandeliers sparkled inside like falling stars. A red carpet stretched across the entrance, while expensive cars lined the street. Inside, soft piano music floated through the air, while waiters in spotless uniforms moved between tables carrying silver trays. Rêve wasn't just a restaurant, it was a symbol of status. Celebrities came here, politicians held private dinners here, billionaires signed deals here. Getting a reservation usually took months, which is why the doorman looked confused when the tall black man stepped out of the taxi. The man wasn't dressed poorly, but he wasn't dressed like the usual guests either. A simple dark jacket, plain shoes, and a small leather briefcase. Nothing about him screamed wealth, but there was something unusual about him. He walked slowly, calmly, like a man who had nowhere to prove he belonged. He paused outside the restaurant entrance and studied the building quietly, almost like he was observing something. Then he stepped inside. The warm, golden lights welcomed him. Behind the front desk stood a hostess with perfect makeup and a professional smile. "Good evening," the man said politely. His voice was calm and confident. "I'd like a table for one." The hostess glanced at him, then at his clothes, then back at him again. Her smile slowly faded. "Do you have a reservation, sir?" "No," he replied kindly, "but the restaurant seems pretty quiet tonight." She hesitated, because he wasn't wrong. There were empty tables everywhere, near the window, near the piano, near the bar. But something about him didn't match the picture she had in her mind of a Rêve customer. "I'm sorry," she said finally. "We're fully booked tonight." The man slowly turned his head and looked around the room again. Empty table. Another one. Another. Then he nodded gently. "Oh, I understand." Behind the bar, 2 waiters were watching. One leaned toward the other and whispered, "Here we go again." The other smirked. People like him always think they can just walk in here. They chuckled quietly, but not quietly enough. The man heard every word. So did a few nearby guests. The room became slightly awkward, but the man didn't argue. He didn't complain. He simply nodded politely. "Well, thank you anyway." Then he turned and walked toward the door. Inside the restaurant, the tension melted away as soon as he left. "Honestly," one waiter muttered, "this place is starting to lose its standards." But just outside the restaurant, something unexpected happened. A sleek black luxury car suddenly pulled up to the curb. The restaurant manager stepped out quickly. He looked nervous, very nervous. Tonight was important, extremely important. A group of investors were already sitting in the private dining room waiting for him. A major deal was about to be finalized, one that could change the future of the restaurant forever. The manager rushed toward the entrance. The hostess greeted him immediately. "Sir, the investors are already here." "Good," he said quickly. "Where is—" Then he stopped. His eyes drifted toward the glass doors. Outside, the tall man with the briefcase was about to enter a taxi. The manager froze. His face drained of color. "No, no, no!" He rushed toward the door. "Wait!" The entire restaurant turned. The man paused and slowly turned around. The manager hurried toward him, breathing heavily. "Sir, Mr. Carter?" The room went silent, completely silent. The man nodded calmly. "Yes." A few guests gasped, because the name Elijah Carter was known around the world. He was the billionaire founder of one of the fastest-growing tech companies in the country, a man whose businesses were worth billions, a man whose face had appeared on magazine covers and financial news channels, and the man who had just purchased controlling shares of the restaurant group that owned Rêve, the same restaurant that had just refused him. The hostess suddenly felt dizzy. The waiter who had mocked him stared down at the floor. The manager looked like he wanted to disappear. I am deeply sorry, Mr. Carter, the manager said nervously. Mr. Carter slowly walked back inside. Every step echoed across the marble floor. He calmly looked around the restaurant, the guests, the staff, the empty tables. Then he placed his briefcase on the host stand. I came tonight for a reason, he said calmly. The room held its breath. Tomorrow I finalize the purchase of this restaurant group. He paused. But before signing the papers, I wanted to visit anonymously. His eyes moved across the staff. I wanted to see how customers are treated. The silence became uncomfortable. The hostess felt her hands shaking. I'm sorry, sir, she whispered. But Carter didn't respond immediately. Instead, he watched, studied, observed. Then something unexpected happened. An elderly man slowly stepped forward from the kitchen area. His uniform was worn, his hands rough. He was clearly part of the cleaning staff. Sir, excuse me, the manager frowned. George, go back to the kitchen. But Carter raised his hand. No. Let him speak. George swallowed nervously. Sir, I saw what happened. He pointed toward a young waitress standing quietly near the kitchen door. She told them there were empty tables. The waitress looked shocked. I just thought it was the right thing, she said softly. Carter smiled slightly. What's your name? Lena. He nodded. Then he did something no one expected. He pulled out a chair and sat down. Well, he said calmly, I'm still hungry. The manager immediately snapped into action. Prepare the best table. Within seconds, the staff rushed everywhere. Fresh tablecloths, crystal glasses, expensive wine. The same restaurant that had rejected him 10 minutes earlier was now treating him like royalty. But Carter was watching everything, every movement, every face. When Lena brought his menu, he looked up at her. Thank you for trying earlier. She smiled nervously. You're welcome, sir. He ordered something simple, steak, water, nothing extravagant. But as the meal arrived, whispers spread through the restaurant. Guests were beginning to recognize him. Phones appeared. Photos were taken. The tension grew thicker. After finishing his meal, Carter slowly stood up. The staff gathered nearby, waiting, hoping, fearing. I learned something tonight, he said calmly. The chef held his breath. The food is excellent. The kitchen staff exhaled. But the culture here, Carter continued, needs serious improvement. The manager felt his stomach drop. Then Carter pointed toward Lena. You're the new floor supervisor starting tomorrow. Her eyes widened in shock. Then he turned to George. And you'll retire next month with a full pension. The old dishwasher's eyes filled with tears. Thank you, sir. Finally, Carter looked directly at the waiter who had mocked him earlier. The waiter froze. I heard what you said. The room went completely silent again. You're fired. The waiter's shoulders dropped instantly. Then Carter turned to the hostess. I believe people deserve second chances, he said quietly. But respect should never depend on someone's appearance. She nodded quickly. Yes, sir. Carter picked up his briefcase and walked toward the door. But before leaving, he stopped. He turned. It's how you treat people who seem unimportant. Then he walked out into the night. And from that day forward, Rêve became famous for something far more powerful than luxury. Respect for every person who walked through the door. If you enjoyed this story, kindly comment yes, yes, yes below.